From blah to boutique, from Dollar Tree. Keep watching. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back. I've got a little candle here I'm going to be using. Also going to be using Mod Podge. And a brush, of course. I've got a variety of paints. I'll only be using 3 of these. Got some different shades of green and gray that we'll use. You can use whichever chalk paint you want, just better coverage with chalk paint. Brushes, of course, for that paint. I have a variety of papers. Some of these are vellum, so you can see through the background. I'm going to use a beautiful gift bag that I thrifted. I love the marble and the gold in this one. So the first project is going to be the Fox in the Woods. This is the vellum piece that I chose with the beautiful little fox on the bottom. And I'm going to use 2 of these papers, and they came from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use the Mod Podge and, of course, the little metal signs that we talked about. I'm going to use one for the back, and that's going to be the one that's a little more blurry, and then one for the front with the same colors that is a little more detailed. It really doesn't matter. It's totally up to you what you want to use on yours. You can use any scrapbook paper, and you could use solid colors if you prefer. But y'all know how I love my woodsy things. I'm just going to cut the bottom off to get a little bit more of the area on this print that I want to focus on. I'm not worried about the fact that I cut it a little too short. Measure yours if you want to be sure you get full coverage, but I'll show you what to do if you goof like I did. So I know I want the front to be the part that doesn't have the screws in it. So this is going to be our front piece with the circle cut out in the middle. I'm going to use Mod Podge and put a nice even layer, and I would say this is a thin layer. I mean, you can't see through it necessarily, but it's not globby. I don't want it to get too wet because it'll cause the paper to crinkle and wrinkle, and we don't want that. So I'm going to take that and put it on, just kind of sit it up against the base here, the wooden base, and I have it offset because I want that tree in the side to be in focus. So I'm just going to pat it down with my hands. Now, an important part of this, for me anyway, and I hope this helps you as well, is to go over this so that it is sealed on the edges. You want to seal it around the edge of the circle and on the outside edges. It's going to make it easier when you're ready to cut this. I'm using a squeegee to press this in place. You can use a gift card or your driver's license if you don't have a squeegee. Then I'm going to focus on what's going to be the back part. And it's pretty much the same process. I'm going to grab that Mod Podge and go all over it. Thank you so much for all the kind words and prayers and light and encouragement that you guys have given me since my last post. When I was struggling, I have never heard more kind and supportive and loving. People were sharing their stories with me. People were, telling me things that they have been suffering right now and the struggles they have been through. And I'm serious, y'all, when I say you brought me to tears. Joyous tears, though, The support that y'all give me, it just truly feels like a family. And I can't thank y'all enough for that. I think of you the same way. I really do. All right, so now we're going to let this dry. I'll just leave mine. I left this overnight, but leave it as long as you need to. Read your Mod Podge instructions. If you don't have Mod Podge, you can definitely use school glue here if you would like. I'm going to use a sander and just sand away the edges, but you can do it a variety of ways, and I'll show you a little bit different in a moment. I stepped into the edge right underneath the roof line there, just to make it easier and so nothing would tear. And then sand down and away, gives you a nice crisp edge. It is going to be a little bit of a rough edge, but we're going to cover that up, so that is not anything that you need to worry about. See, that's easy to do. I would think that's beginner friendly, right? Now, because we used the Mod Podge on the back, the texture of the paper is a lot thicker. It's not going to tear as easily. So I'm going to use a utility knife or whatever blade that you have, and I'm just going to Punch a hole and then just go up and down, kind of sawing through it, because the texture of the paper, like I said, has changed once you put the Mod Podge on it. It's a lot stronger. Take your time with this because you don't want to tear this. So you can see, I think you can see better than me trying to explain it. I'm going to push it to the back, and you can tear off those pieces if you feel like they're going to come away easily. Just give it a little pull and pull it down and through that hole. Don't pull it the other way, or you'll pull it completely off of your round or your metal piece. And then I'm going to take my little sander and go all around the edges and sand from the inside outward and then back and forth. And I can do that because I sealed it all the way around, so it's very tough. Be careful, experiment, take your time, see what works for you. Here is the front. Now we're going to move on to the back, because I know not every Dollar Tree is going to have the same thing. Really quickly, I want to say, if you're enjoying what you're watching here today, if you're enjoying our conversation, the support, the love, you can return that to me by subscribing to the channel. I am getting it back together, y'all. I have so many updates for y'all. I've got so much I need to tell y'all. Life is changing. I'm excited. So y'all please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give me a like if you're enjoying this video. And I'll love you forever. All right, so I'm going to go all around the edges. I left the little chimney on there, but I'm going to cover it up because I decided that where I thought maybe it would look sort of like a tree stump or a tree top, it just was too light on that corner. So I'm going to do something to make it look better. Don't you worry. Now I know I need to cut down this little fox, so I've cut it down and stuck it on the back. I'm going to grab my aging wax, whatever kind of wax you want. You could use a furniture marker, a furniture repair marker from Dollar Tree for this too, if you would like. It's going to be a little bit sharper of an edge though, and I like how this kind of fades out. I'm just using a little finger dauber, and I'm going to go all the way around the edges and that inner circle, and I'll do the same thing to the back. And that's where I left it galvanized on the top because I cut it too short. So I'm just going to dab it on there, and it will stay. I'll get as much on there and as much shading as I want around those edges, and then I can just put it down and let it dry. Just letting the tip of it dry and add a little more onto it. And then I'll use some double stick tape, which I've already put down, and then press this vellum right into that double stick tape. You can color your bottoms with the wax if you want to, but I'm going to leave mine just like they are, just for a time saver. I'm going to go along on the back piece, same thing. I got it a little too short in the corner. I'm going to put wax on there and let it dry, and you'll never know if that metal is still there. Going all around that. You could also probably bend that back or cut that off if you want, but you know, I'm trying to show you the easy way if you don't have the tools to do all that. I'm going to use my finger dauber and go all over this section where it is going to kind of stick out past the front section of it, and just rub on some of that to give it maybe like a tree color, like a log or something in the back. You know how treetops fall out during storms and all you have is the trunk that's left up there. I'm thinking maybe I can be a little more convincing if I do it this way. Now, you see the hardware pieces are on the inside. I'll add hot glue or any adhesive you want. Give it a second to set up. And when I put my light in, look at the little fox in the hole. I love this, y'all. If you need the link to the papers that I use, please, please, please feel free to comment, and I'll be glad to share that with you. Might actually already have that down in the description box, so be sure you check that. I've got a little wrinkle in the top. It's okay. All right, now we're going to do the marble butterflies. So we're going to use 2 of the open pieces because, you know, maybe that's all you have. I'm going to use some of these butterfly appliques. They are also from TEMU. Mod Podge and a brush, of course. I'm going to use my little utility cutter here. Sander. And the beautiful bag. Whatever bag you choose. I love this. So this is what I'm going to use. And I've got some brushed gold metallic folk art paint that I'm going to use to change the color of these silver or chrome colored butterflies to a gold. I pounce this on because it's going to work a whole lot better when you do metallics. In my own humble opinion, this is the best way to do it. You can spray paint it, but not everybody has spray paint. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let these dry in between coats. I did put 3 coats on here, but it's so quick. It really is, it's not going to take you any time, and it can dry while you're doing the rest of it. I'll cut the bag into a manageable piece that I can use on the front and back of the project. I'm going to use this corner down here, just kind of putting it where I think I want the section of print that I like. Just gives me an idea and helps me decide where I want to put it. And then I like this section, so I'll cut this out. I like how it's got a bigger section of the gold on there. And I don't know what you would call this style. If people ask, it's definitely not farmhouse. I don't know what you would call it. You know, we don't have to have a name for everything. If we like it, then that's okay, right? If it looks good in our home, if we enjoy it, if we want to give it as a gift to somebody who you know you would enjoy it, then it is perfect the way it is. We're going to make it our own on this channel. That's what it's all about. All right, so I've got a little rough section here, and I know what I want to do with it. And I'll do the same thing as we did before, adding Mod Podge to the entire side. Up and up and over, up and up and over. Okay, so please tell me, those of you who live on the Gulf Coast, that you have been watching the news and that you know that the weather is going to get a little bit unseasonably cold and yucky down here in the South. Do what you need to do to prepare yourself. Ice will make power outages if it gets on the lines and the lines start breaking. So even if you don't think it's going to snow or you're not hearing snow in your area, 29 degrees is below freezing. Any precipitation you get is going to freeze. My friends, the crafty family, please take care of yourself and your pets and your homes. I don't want to hear about anybody running out of bread and milk. Yeah, I don't get it either. What you going to do with bread and milk? What you going to do? Everybody buys it up, though, when it's time for a storm to come. Got to have bread, milk, and toilet paper. Walmart is wiped out. But not in my case. I made an order, and I'm going to go pick up some tomorrow, and milk is nowhere in my order. Bread is a good idea, though, because you can have sandwiches whether you have power or not. Okay, enough of that. And take care of yourselves, because I love y'all. I don't want anybody to be sick, hurt, or left in the cold. Now, I put this on top. I'm just supporting the tip of this so it doesn't peel off by another one of these signs. It's the perfect size. And I'll do the same thing on the other one. I'm pushing it down to make sure that it's all the way to the bottom. You can see that this back piece, the hardware is toward the inside. Okay, we're going to be covering that up, but we don't want it on the outsides. And so I'm going to put something heavy on here for this to dry. And again, this dried overnight. Not a big deal. It's a little bit different than regular paper. It's like a coated paper. So we want to be sure that the thickness of this is glued down nicely before we try to sand. Next day, we're ready to go. To protect my table, I am going to put down just a tag sign that I recycle from Dollar Tree. I've used it so many times. They're very good for this. And I'm going to use this to protect my tabletop because I'm going to use a blade because I want to show you different options. Yes, you can sand. Yes, you can use scissors. And you can use a utility blade. No excuse for us not to get our crafting done, right? Sometimes you're going to want to change out the bottom there of that sander because you'll need a fresh piece of paper to really cut through there so it's not snagging. You notice it starts to snag, go ahead and switch your little sanding piece of paper out or your sanding whatever that is, and get you a fresh piece. All right, so now I'm going all around here. Trim off the excess with whatever tool you please, and then you can go around your edges and make this nice and pretty. Love it. So on this piece, this is going to be our front piece. I'm going to prop it just a little bit so I don't hit the table, and I'm going to cut into this. We sealed it on the front. We sealed it on the bottom and we sealed it on the back, just like we did on the other one. I'm going to cut this just in a T or an X and push the pieces to the back. Pull them through the back and pull them off, not into the front. And y'all please be careful. Some of these metal pieces are kind of sharp. So just be careful that you don't cut yourself. I did not cut myself, but I don't want any delicate fingers to get hurt, okay? So we're going to go around with the sander on the inside, going from the inside to the back. You can lightly sand back and forth if you need to, but just test it out first and don't get in a big rush. Once both pieces are sanded, and you notice we left the hole solid, we didn't let that part be cut out on the other piece. I want to leave that just like it is, because if that's all you have, then that's all you have. Well, we can make it work so it doesn't even look like it's got cut out. This is the back of our house now. I'm going to use that gold on a foam brush and apply it. You can use a finger dauber. Again, I'm always wanting to give you options of other ways that you can do it. If you have a gold paint pen, you could do it this way too. If you don't have gold and gray and silver, then use whatever coordinating color you have. Say you have a red plaid. Well, then get your red marker to go around the edge, or your black marker to go around the edge. You know what I mean, right? You want it to be coordinating. And that's pretty easy. You can put it as thick on there as you would like. You can let that dry and do another coat so it really stands out. The main thing for me was to cover up the white where we sanded it down and to give it a little bit of that finished edge all the way around the piece. Now I'm going to color the base, and I actually do also use a pouncer, and I don't know if I showed that in the video or not, but I do actually use the pouncer and put that on all of that galvanized area as well. We're going to do both of the stands, and then of course you're going to let that dry, and you're going to tilt it where you can do the bottom edges as well. This is where I have pounced it all over. You can make it as thick as you want. You can make it as thin as you want. You're really not going to see it, but it will change potentially the color of your light to a more yellow color. You don't want to use hot glue. You can grab whatever type of strong hold glue that you have to put your bases together. I'm going to trim down a section of the paper, same bag that we used before, to put on the inside. It is going to cover up our hardware and give it a very pretty surface. Just a little something extra you could do. You can use a scrap of fabric, you can use some burlap in here, you can use a piece of ribbon, depending on what type of decor you like in your home. And then I'll just press that down into that hot glue. Be careful and protect your fingers. This also will help hold that in place while that glue sets up underneath. Give it some time to dry, and this is what our piece looks like. And then we can use our beautiful appliques on here. So I want one of the butterflies to look like he's maybe going inside of the little foam of the little box. He's peeking on the inside. So I'm just using just a little drop of hot glue. It doesn't take a lot, and don't burn your fingers. And then I'll have one on the back side as if it's flying out. And I think this is so pretty. There's so many options with this too. If you want to do mushrooms, you can do mushrooms. If you want to do little people, you can do little people. Any way you like it. You could use this as a napkin holder. You could use it just as a piece of decor, like a little shadow box, and put it on your shelf. Or you can add a light to it. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. Love those gold butterflies. They may actually even sell them in gold, but all I found was the silver. Here it is with a light in it, if you like the little night light look. I think this is a very pretty option if you don't like more of the rustic or woodland pieces that I usually do. Hi, neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor? All right, so we're going to use 3 of these signs. We'll use 1 with a circle and 2 with the chimney. I'm going to use a paint stir stick, some paint brushes, and these are the 3 that I chose. These are all my little chalk paints. I'm also going to use a piece of this little fencing. You can find it with miniatures in whatever craft store you go to. I'm going to start on the first house by painting it the first color that I choose. And I just chose some colors that are shades of green. Love my chalk paint. It gives such good coverage, and you don't have to use more than 1 coat unless you just choose to. Here is the next color. If you want to know what shades I use, feel free to comment and I will let you know. And then here's the third. Now, something I will tell you, that if you use paintbrushes to put on glue and Mod Podge as well, keep your paintbrushes and the brushes designated for adhesives separate, because I think that's what happened with my brush here. It was left pretty streaky. I think maybe I used it for glue. That's okay. I let it dry, and then you want to add another coat, you add another coat. I'm just using a heat tool, like I said, for speed, so I can get you the video. And then once it's dry, I'm going to connect my little houses, because it's going to be our house in the middle of the street, right? Y'all know that song? I know you do. I'm going to add some glue to this stick, and this is how we're going to attach these, because it won't have enough strength if we attach these on the sides. So doing it this way, they'll all be together, and we're going to make this bottom, this little base that we put underneath it, disappear with paint in a little bit, so you won't have to worry about that. But it gives it a nice little piece to keep it stable. We're going to add the next one down, and you can definitely use a different type of glue if you want, super glue or whatever, but this worked for me for speed. And there we go. Now our houses are together. I did overlap the center house over the little roof of the other two houses. I'll take some brown chalk paint and go all over the entire bottom. It's going to be a muddy yard in the south. If you want to use green, you can use green, but I decided to use brown because I chose green for my houses. I don't want everything to blend in too much, right? You can definitely paint the back of your houses too. You see how the paint stick, it just kind of disappears once you paint it? Perfect. And these little decor pieces like this that we create are so good for narrow, skinny little shelves. They work so good. Now, once everything is dry, look what you can do. This could be a little peekaboo thing. You can put any type of little Dollar Tree miniature, the little village pieces they have in there, or the garden pieces. Here's another idea. If you wanted to use mushrooms, you don't even have to glue them down, and you can make it seasonal and use seasonal pieces in there. I decided to add a little fence. I just folded the edges, and I'm going to place it down there. It stays without adding any glue. And then I thought, well, let's embellish these houses. I'm going to make them look a little more real, because what if that's what you want to do? I'll take some Dollar Tree stickers, and they have sort of a metallic look on them. Love it. And I am going to add doors and windows to the houses. Just decorative, right? Just a little something fun. You can use your paint markers and draw something. You can use stickers. You can use little pieces of wood if you would like, and wood chips. Whatever makes your little heart happy, right? But I love this idea, especially knowing that I'm going to be moving and I'm going to have new neighbors, and my kids will have kids to play with, and it's just so exciting. So yeah, gotta have a little something special with houses and neighbors, right? Do you know your neighbors? Do you talk to your neighbors? Do you have coffee with your neighbors? I mean, I act like I've never had a neighbor before, but it's been a long time since I've had a neighbor. So yeah, I kind of like to know how you get along with your neighbors. There is the adorableness of this little set of houses, our little neighborhood, our little hi neighbor. And here we go. This is what it looks like if you choose to use it just this way and you don't want to use it any other way. You could sit this in your kitchen window. Wouldn't that be cute? And the light would shine through the center of that house. That would be so pretty. Or you can put a candle in there. So many people like the light up projects, and I'm glad. I've done lots of light up projects and I get lots of positive feedback. So I'll try to put some of those in the description box for you if you would like to watch them. Thank you so much for stopping by. Check out this next video in the rectangle. See you soon.